Live in Whittier, so all connected, all very close. Already said to have 200 firefighters, more than 200 firefighters are on scene of this brush fire that has taken hold of a couple of homes in Whittier. As you know, it is extremely warm this February afternoon. In Whittier, I'm seeing temperatures close to 90 degrees right now. The San Gabriel Valley under a heat advisory until 6 p.m. Sunday, in fact. And a wind advisory, you know, wind is king, to use meteorologist Rick Dickert's phrase, when it comes to battling these wildfires. So a wind advisory is in place until 4 o'clock this afternoon. I don't have the precise wind speeds right now, but gusts are expected up to 40 miles per hour in this particular area. So as we're getting more of a picture here from Skyfox, again, this wildfire erupting in Whittier, you're seeing sort of the ridge here. We saw crews out there. They're trying to put containment lines already and tackle those flames that have made their way into this. It looks like a backyard, a home structure there in that backyard. It looks like that home has already been engulfed entirely almost in those flames. Obviously, it's too soon to speak of the cause and also injuries. At this point, we have not heard of any injuries, but this is a brand new fire, and you can already see the water dropping helicopters on scene. That is a sight to see right now. And up this ridge, it looks like all of that ridge side is charred as well. In terms of size, this started as roughly a 2-acre brush fire. And at this point, it doesn't look like it's that much bigger than that, but the damage it's done in just a short amount of time is pretty incredible. And obviously, our hearts go out to the homeowners of this particular home. We certainly hope nobody was home at the time, and if they were, hopefully they got out. Obviously, the other concern is embers with those wind gusts, wind speeds up to 20, 25 miles per hour. Their embers can carry, and that's when things can really get out of control. So at this point, from this view, it looks like crews, they're there, and they are doing what they can to save the surrounding homes in this neighborhood, this nice-looking neighborhood in Whittier. Again, the location given was the 4800 block of Cinco View Drive in the Sycamore Park area. There you go. There's another location for you, the Sycamore Park area. This may be called the Sycamore incident, in fact. This is new information from LA County Fire Department, which is on scene as they're spraying down those backyards, the surrounding properties there. Really sad to see that that structure, that home, is seemingly totaled, engulfed, gone after flames got a hold of it. At least one home has been damaged. There's another one that looks like. It's hard to sort of get a lay of the land through the smoke and as the chopper moves around. So again, just to recap, this was called in shortly before 3 o'clock this afternoon, LA County Fire. This is, you know, the big concern, I was going to say this time of year, but fire season is year-round now in California, quite frankly. And this is our second fire of the day. It started off early this morning in Orange County. So from LA County to Orange County early this morning, the Emerald Bay fire in North Laguna Beach, that had residents evacuated very early this morning, about 4 a.m. Fortunately, no homes were lost in that fire. Those evacuation orders, those have since been lifted, and I know crews are still on scene in Orange County trying to make sure that those flames stay out in Emerald Bay along Irvine Cove. That was the neighborhood that was most impacted. And now we have this Whittier brush fire. At least 2 structures we've seen have engulfed in flames in this particular neighborhood. More than 200 firefighters responding. We have a fixed wing aircraft out there. We already saw one water dropping helicopter. That was good to see. So although this has just been around for 30 minutes, they've already have a lot of resources. And that's also because earlier this morning there were reports that the Orange County fire was the only fire really underway throughout our area, and they called it rich in resources in terms of how they could tackle that fire. They could respond so quickly because there was only one fire burning, and so I think that's the case here, as they've made seemingly quick work of this. But again, the danger remains for the neighboring homes in this area. And in the background there, it's nice to see the LA County Fire crews. They are there. Again, more than 200 firefighters on location. A heat advisory remains in effect for the next several days. It's unseasonably warm. 86 degrees is what I'm seeing in Whittier right now. So those conditions out there with the winds, there's a wind advisory as well. What these firefighters have to battle as they battle these flames, it's heroic work what they do out there. So as Skyfox sort of pans around here, you're seeing that right there, this is the focus where this home has been lost. And again, it's hard to see. I can see the chimney there. We don't know of any injuries. We certainly hope that everyone is okay as we now go to the front yard of this home. And this is the focus of the crews out there. More than 200 firefighters out there with their hoses out. They've got this, they're attacking it from all sides. You can see a pool in the background. It's so unfortunate to see. This is what we're always afraid of when we have wind and we have the heat here in Southern California. And yep, the flames got a hold of that home right there, the neighboring home, the one structure that looks like it's completely lost. And now the flames have jumped to this two-story home right next door, and the crews are out there with their hoses out. Joining the coverage right now, I have, of course, my colleague Christine Devine. Christine, I was saying that this is the second fire of the day. Oh, she doesn't have her microphone yet. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Yes, so this is the second fire of the day. The first one in Orange County. Now here we are in Whittier, this neighborhood really under attack by these flames, the heat, the wind. The crews are out there doing what they can. I know also meteorologist Rick Dickert will be along to help sort of paint the picture of the conditions out there. I mean, from my perspective and looking up here, that it's very warm, almost 90 degrees out there. The wind gusts, there's a wind advisory in the San Gabriel Valley until 4 o'clock today. So that's set to expire at 4 o'clock. Will it? We don't know yet. Rick will be along to shed some light on that. But temps up to 90 degrees in this area, 15 to 25 miles per hour winds with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. As we're looking live right there at the firefight, trying to save some of these homes in this Whittier neighborhood, the Sycamore Park area of Whittier. Two addresses, two streets that LA County Fire is giving us, the Cinco View Drive and also East Banyan Rim Drive in Whittier. Apparently this started down below, and then these flames made their way up that ridge side there. That's when we saw earlier. That's when we saw that sort of charred mountainside, and then those flames just quickly got a hold of this home as Skyfox is almost directly above, and a large home. We've seen the size of these homes, 2 stories, massive lots here, and it's just so unfortunate to see. All right, now joining the coverage is my colleague Christine Devine. Christine, we talk about fire season. It is year-round here, and this is what happens.
You know, Marla, I was thinking we've been so engrossed in our coverage with the excitement of the Super Bowl and talking about the heat and how Cincinnati fans will be coming here to this heat summer-like weather, go to the beach, have a good time, wear your shorts. And then we're reminded that this indeed also means more risk for fires here in Southern California. You can see firefighters out there on the ground. They're in that very heavy equipment and that heat trying to fight these fires and doing what looks to be a really good job there, tackling the back end of those homes. Look at the brush clearance there, and look at the way they've tackled that from behind. One big thing is you want to obviously save lives. That's first and foremost, is to save the lives of people in those homes. And then it's property and structure protection. And then also the neighbors, if you can stop those flames from spreading, to nearby homes. That would be another issue that they're dealing with. So look for firefighters there on the other sides of the properties to try to contain those flames in those homes. And Marla, you've been covering this. You covered the fire earlier today. The damage there to that one home on the left looks significant.
Oh, it's so sad, so sad to see. And again, looking at the notes here from LA County Fire, and this was called in at 2:54, and how quickly, if that's the case, that they got the call, how quickly those flames made their way up that hillside to that one home. I know we had our extreme nav technology up there that had the overlay of the streets. Maybe we can bring that back to get a better sense of exactly the address of this, because this is the focus. This is those that just sort of looks like a cul-de-sac. There we go. So yes, there's that's Banyan Rim Drive, which I had mentioned earlier, Spyglass Hill Road. So it is that Banyan Rim Drive, and this is also known as the Sycamore Park area, and Cinco View Drive. There you go. So yes, that was what the call was, the 4800 block of Cinco View Drive in Whittier. And it's so sad to see, you know, even the loss of one home. My goodness. And hopefully, I don't see really any active flames right now, but again, it can be easily disguised by all the smoke there.
Well, as I said, we were thinking about so much about the Super Bowl and the excitement of that, and then you have firefighters who, they're thinking about the heat. They're thinking about the fire danger. They know what comes with this kind of heat in Southern California with these very dry conditions. So they're at the ready for a call like this. You can see all the fire trucks there on the surface streets there, the community there, offering protection as far back as a block over. Look at there, you see law enforcement, you see people there on the curb, you see firefighters there trying to keep a watch for embers that might go over and carry over to another property. Obviously, they are blowing away from the neighborhood for the most part. We see a helicopter there. Marla, have you seen any kind of drops at all? Yes. Okay, so they are doing drops from the air.
Yes.
And Christine, it's all about structure protection. They want to save homes. They want to make sure that they're setting up a situation where they're going to try their best to save any type of structures there. And this is, it's not unprecedented. We do have these winds and this heat during February at times, but definitely we're looking at record-breaking temperatures. That's an LA County helicopter that's just swished by there, and you see this, and it's awful, because at least multiple homes have burned here in Whittier.
Yeah, and Rick, just getting word, I had mentioned that this is the Sycamore Park area. They are, in fact, calling this the Sycamore Fire, named after the nearby park. More than 200 firefighters from LA County are there on the scene. They have, to Christine's point, they do have that fixed-wing aircraft. I have seen one water drop since we've been on the air, just for about 15 minutes now. But now
they're throwing everything at this right now. Clearly, there's no question that this is an LA County jurisdiction. And what they're doing is they're trying to set up that circular periphery. They're trying to set up that circle around this area to try to prevent the fire from spreading to other homes. And obviously, we're seeing an awful story here that somebody's home has burned, and their livelihood and what have you. And this is all because of this weather pattern that we've been experiencing, that we've been talking about, with strong offshore winds, heat. We've had a prolonged period of dry weather here in Southern California. We're feast or fathom in terms of rain, and we just haven't seen any precipitation after, in January, the start of January and December, we saw a lot of precipitation, and now we haven't seen anything. And now we're seeing ultra hot temperatures. We're seeing temperatures of 90 degrees, low humidities, single digits, and hot offshore winds, and that's what's fueling this.
Rick, we appreciate you talking about this heat. I know you've been making the statement, it seems every night on the news recently, that we have had no rain and no rain in sight. So no surprise to have these fire conditions. I'm going to quote the Whittier Daily News, and they have been in touch with the LA County Fire Department, and apparently there is a recommendation for evacuations for residents. They're quoting Isaac Rivera of the Fire Department, LA County, saying that there's a recommendation for evacuations and that the cause of the fire was not immediately known. You look at those firefighters there stationed there on the ground and the destruction of that one home. Rick Dickert, gosh, we really could use some rain in the forecast, and you're still saying nothing, right?
Yeah, we do. The last day with measurable rain in Los Angeles was back in January. It was on Martin Luther King Day. We had 18/100ths of an inch, so we've gone nearly a month now with no rain in LA, and we've had this periodic flow of offshore winds, warm temperatures, and dry conditions, and that's what we're seeing here. And now we have these winds, 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. We have wind advisories in effect. We have heat advisories in effect. We're talking about 90-degree temperatures in Los Angeles in the month of February, which is typically the warmest month, I would say the wettest month of the year in Southern California based on climatology, and we're seeing this.
Yeah, and earlier, this is the second fire of the day. Fortunately, those mandatory evacuations in Orange County and North Laguna Beach, those have been lifted. No homes, thankfully, were lost there. A few hours later, Rick, and I wanted to ask you about this because they were talking about a phrase like, I haven't heard.
When we see the white smoke, though, that is good, and that means that firefighters are getting a handle on the fire. The black, deep smoke shows that the fire is burning, but we're seeing structures burn here. We're seeing people's homes burn right here, and it's an awful scene to see. Especially like Whittier is an area. It's off the 60 freeway, the 60 and the 605. If you know the area of Southern California, I was born and raised here. That is an area that typically wouldn't see a wildfire like this, and we're seeing it, and it's the conditions that are in play right now that are enabling this fire to spread.
Well, Rick Dickert, you are our evening weather meteorologist, but you've been up in Skyfox many years covering for Good Day LA. We also have Stu Mendel on the phone with us now, who is handling the Skyfox duties in the morning. Stu, you were already busy this morning, and now you see this. Any surprise here?
You know, yeah, of course, every time we do see a fire like this, it is a surprise, and I'm glad that they Skyfox did that wide shot right now, because that was kind of what I was really wondering about. You know, you're talking about a brush fire, and it definitely was some sort of grass fire that raced up that hillside right there and took out those homes. You know, we saw those two homes at that cul-de-sac, and now pushing into seeing some of those trees on there at the bottom. A lot of the Whittier area that we've been, you know, when you say Whittier, it is very dynamic out there. There are some homes that are very much on the flatland, but then there are some up on these hillsides, and you can clearly see this was one of those terrain-driven fires. Some brush or some grass, it looks like, started on the lower side of that hill and then raced up that hillside and then got into those backyards. LA County firefighters, these are some of the best we have out here, and they got there, and they apparently that fire was well established in those two homes by the time that the LA City Fire Department even got there. They got a lot of smoke still moving across the screen, and we did see a helicopter earlier on. But it does seem like the brush fire portion of this is out, or the grass fire, so it doesn't seem like there isn't any immediate threat to any more of those homes in that area, except for those, you know, what you're seeing there, those embers still moving. But even in this shot, you're not seeing very much ember. You're seeing a lot of smoke moving around down there. There is probably some active fire still inside those two homes, but the number of firefighters they have on scene right there, and there you go, you got an LA County firefighter helicopter dropping water right there, and just basically cooling down that hillside, making sure that if there are any embers or anything that could spark up, again, would be basically slowed down even before that.
It's a small area right now, and as we widen out, you could see that. And firefighters, the LA County, when you see the yellow and the white helicopters, those are LA County helicopters. And when you see the red and white, those are the LA City helicopters that do drop water and FOS check around the area create that perimeter to circle the area to make sure that the fire doesn't spread. It's all about creating that barrier so that we don't see the fire spread farther. And right now they're getting a very good handle on it. White smoke is good. Black smoke, you don't want to see that, because if you see black smoke, then you know that that fire is still very intense and spreading. And right now we're seeing more of the white smoke, but unfortunately we did see some homes there that were engaged. And what they're trying to do right now is set that perimeter, set that circular motion around this area to prevent the fire from spreading any farther and not creating any more damage than it already has.
Yeah, Rick, you talked about it being relatively small in size. We're just getting word from LA County Fire. It's roughly 4 acres. So yes, small, but the damage is extensive.
It's homes.
Yeah, and that's it. You could see those firefighters on the ground, the boots on the ground, as we say, putting water on these homes right now. And you see that there's been multiple homes that have burned here. And we don't know what the ignition point was. We don't know what started this fire. But we do know that the weather conditions in play, the heat, we're talking about record-breaking temperatures, we're talking about offshore winds, we're talking about low relative humidity that has helped this fire spread. Those are all the conditions that have been in play and definitely had an impact on allowing this fire to burn these homes. And it's an awful situation. These are people's livelihoods that are going up.
Yeah, gentlemen, we thank you as we continue our coverage here on Fox 11. You're absolutely right. This is somebody's home. A family, perhaps, lives in these homes here. We're hearing from LA County Fire Air Ops that they put out the word that they have 3 helicopters dropping water and assisting here in this Sycamore Canyon fire near Whittier. And both of you, Stu and Rick, flying over Skyfox, you really see how big the area of Whittier is. It's a big
It is. It is, Rick? Christine. And the situation is that that's sort of Whittier is a residential area. There's a lot of businesses in the area, but then you have the hills around the 60 and the 605, and again, we're not sure what sparked this fire, what started it, but the weather conditions in play allowed it to spread. And LA County, that's the jurisdiction here. LA County Fire is on it, on the ground, in the air, and they're doing whatever they can to prevent that fire from spreading any farther and not damaging any other homes. But it's awful
you can clearly
to
see it right there that these homes are on a hillside, and that probably was a terrain driven, and also because you can see in that shot with the white smoke that Rick has been pointing out the whole time, you know, you can actually see that this is on a hillside. It probably started very slow, but it probably was terrain driven, and it was like a flash fuel. What's left there, as you can see, is that light fuel, that light dry brush on that hillside, and it probably ran up those hills. Now, winds probably are helping that situation because you can see that smoke still moving in that upward, like that updraft type of situation, and it probably ran up that hillside. And when the firefighters arrived, they had fire in the back of these homes, so they had to make an attack that way. I'm sure the helicopters were en route probably with the initial calls, but that you can see that those flames basically ran up a hillside and got into those homes, those 2 homes that were destroyed up there. And like you say, Whittier is a very dynamic area, and there are a lot of hillside homes. I don't know exactly where this spot is. We haven't seen it in the wider shots, but we can see that there is a lot of brush down there, but we don't see any active flames anymore. The helicopters, like you pointed out, LA County with the yellow and black, a lot of times we have these assisting type of situations, especially with brush fires. If there's a brush fire in the LA County area, an LA City helicopter will come and assist, and vice versa. But in this case, they're probably just the LA County firefighters down there. That white smoke that you've been talking about, it seems to continue to bellow, so you kind of wonder if that is actually the winds continuing to kick through that area, because like, you know, Rick would know this better than I would. It is very, very windy out here today. And then in the wider shots, now we're getting, well, the helicopter's panning away, but this is over by the Rose Hills area. So this area, like you said, is still part of Whittier, but it's up on that hillside. And again, now what they're planning to show you right there is that some of those FOS check planes, that's going to be the Forest Service, probably going to join this as well. But they really want to make sure that this fire is out.
Gentlemen.
And it is. And I think they're getting a handle on it. And that area right there is essentially like the area that comes out of the San Gabriel Mountains. When you think of the San Gabriel Canyon of the San Gabriel Mountains, where the winds funnel through that area. And I always talk about a garden hose, where if you think about water with that garden hose, it bursts out. And same thing with air. And that's what happens here. And we are definitely seeing those northeasterly winds blowing from the northeast to the southwest. Our extreme nav system on Skyfox, which we're equipped with, shows you the streets here. But it's awful to see these homes that are burned. But the bottom line is that we're seeing more white smoke. We're seeing firefighters on the ground, in the air. We're seeing LA County on the ground and in the air. Again, the yellow and white helicopters, those are LA County fire helicopters that are dropping water. The Phos-Check, that's a fire retardant that essentially creates that perimeter around the area so that that fire doesn't spread any farther, so we don't see more homes, unfortunately, burned. Bottom line, be prepared. And I know that you may not be in a fire area. If you're watching right now, you may be in an area that will be engaged with a strong earthquake, which we will see. Prepare. Get yourself in order to know that you are all ready to go if something happens, because this is a situation in Southern California that we see so often. We look at these pictures here, and we've seen this year after year. We've had some of the largest wildfires here in Southern California over the last 10 years. It's engaging to the point where we know that this is going to continue to happen. And if you're in that wildland interface where you live up against the hills, and we have these offshore winds, it will happen, and it could happen in your neighborhood, and you have to be prepared. And this is an awful scene to see.
Rick, I really feel the passion that you're expressing right here, how awful this is to see, because this is somebody's home, and to see these homes damaged or destroyed is really so painful. What has been such an exciting week in Southern California with the Super Bowl and all that comes with that, to have the reality of weather and Mother Nature and the heat that also comes with sunny Southern California, and to see that footage from earlier, you really saw, Marla, the intensity of the flames and the fire and how much damage right there. Look at that there. Look at the damage being done to those homes right there.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to see what the spark was. Weather doesn't create these fires. There's got to be an ignition. There has to be something that starts that fire, and the weather conditions allow it to spread. There it is. Again, when you see a yellow and white helicopter, that's an LA County fire helicopter, the Bell 40s that will drop the water around the periphery of that fire to prevent it from spreading and to put it out. And that's what they're doing here. But we don't know what started the fire. All we know is that it's hot. We're talking about temperatures of 90 or above. We're talking about record-breaking temperatures. We're talking about wind, offshore winds, and low humidities. There's no red flag warnings that are in effect right now. There's no red flag warnings. We've seen this happen time and time again here in Southern California, and they're going to get a handle on this. I mean, looking at this after covering scenes from this from above for so many years, I know that within an hour we're going to see more white smoke. The smoke lays down, it settles down, and we'll look at the destruction, which is awful. But they're going to get a handle on this, and we'll see the destruction of those homes.
Yeah, and LA County first got the call, at least put it out there, at 2:54, so that was less than an hour ago. And to think how quickly those flames just raced up the hillside, because it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, that the flame started at the base of the foothill there, where that Sycamore Park is, and raced up the hillside. This is what LA County firefighters reported early on, and those flames just took hold of at least 2 homes.
Defensible space, and remember that. And if you do live in these urban wildland interface, and I always say that in Southern California, that's where the bushes meets the burbs, where there are areas where you have these residential structures and you have the chaparral and the trees and what have you. You still have to have that defensible space so that if a fire were to start, it's not going to spread quickly and get into your home. And this is a situation where it looks like they had that to a degree, but there's going to be situations where you do have those strong offshore winds and the heat and the low humidity and just enough of brush that it will engage with a home, and that's what we're seeing here. And it's awful to see anybody's homes burn, and that's what we're seeing here in Whittier.
I was going to ask about that brush and the clearance, and toss this one to you, Stu Mandel, as we learn the fire has burned 7 acres here. That clearance here, so you're saying the fire raced up that hill, even if those homes had some clearance?
Yeah, and you have all those beautiful trees around there, and it's even if there is clearance, these homes, they probably they're built in California, and they're all, unless they're extremely new or in an area like we've been talking about this morning in the OC, where you can these homes, they will have eaves in there, and then those embers racing up that hillside, and because of the winds pushing it, it's going to make its way up into the eaves, and it's going to get into those attics, and that again, we just have been watching a lot. I'm very much the armchair firefighter. I'm just a guy in a helicopter for the most part, but we've seen so many of these, and we've seen how the mechanism, how these homes catch on fire in a brush fire situation, and this seems to be the very classic situation. These are homes at the very top of a hill, the pinnacle of a hill. You've got light brush that probably was yellow and dry before this fire. Whatever that ignition point was, hopefully it was nothing of malice, meaning that hopefully there wasn't a human involvement. But once that fire starts and rushes up that hillside, first you've got just the terrain. It's going to we know fire runs uphill, and then after that you've got the winds today, and you can still see those winds are still pushing those, and they're hot. So yeah, it was just a bad situation from go. And when LA County firefighters arrived there, they probably had fire in both those structures already. And yes, we're seeing a loss of 2 people's homes probably, and that is devastating for them, definitely. But we're not hearing about any injuries. We're not hearing about even firefighters being injured. It's still quite it's not perilous, but it is a pretty steep hill right there. And when Skyfox had that shot earlier on, you could actually see down lower, and firefighters still kind of at the lower point where that fire started. And of course, those helicopters, they're dropping water. They're coordinating with the ground guys, making sure that they don't drop water on guys that are on that hillside. But it is still going to be a very active fight out here. As far as the danger goes, I would say, probably very safely say, that no other homes are going to be lost in this situation. But what Rick's brought it up a couple of times already, it is unusual weather for sure. We've got these Santa Ana situations, when it's the middle of winter for us. And, this morning showed it. We had warm winds, high winds, and, low humidity, and boom, we had a brush fire. And it's happening again today in the afternoon. And, until the Santa Anas really kind of slow down and the heat kind of goes away, we're back in the fire season, or in a very active fire season. It seems like in Southern California, it's always fire season.
24 days without measurable rain. You're right, Stu, and you can see the boots on the ground there. And what they're doing is setting up that perimeter, that line around this area to try to prevent the fire from spreading, to engage with other homes. And February, on average, is the wettest year in Southern California. We look at climatology. We have what we call a Mediterranean climate, where it's wet starting November through about March or April, and then the rest of the year is high and dry. But here in Southern California, it's feast or famine. I always tell people 15 inches of rain on average in LA. That's the average amount of precipitation we receive. But it's so rare that we actually receive that. Typically, we receive 4 or 5 inches on the low end, and then maybe 20, 25 inches. And we had a great December. The Sierra Nevada saw record-breaking snow in October, November, and December, and then it just shut off. And we haven't seen anything, and now we're worried. And we haven't seen any measurable rain in LA since mid-December here in Los Angeles. So we've almost got a month that we've been able to dry out. The chaparral, all the brush that's indigenous to Southern California has been able to dry out. So you have that. Then you have the heat, you have this high pressure system, the offshore flow. the offshore winds, and we're seeing situations like this. But again, once you see the white smoke, once you see the boots on the ground, once you see that perimeter surrounding the area, making sure the fire doesn't spread, it's much better than what we saw just 15, 20 minutes ago. Awful, awful to see those homes that have burned. What was the ignition? What started the fire? It wasn't the weather, but the weather allowed it to spread. The weather allowed that fire to race up the hill. And remember, and Stu knows this as well, when a fire starts, it races up a hill much quicker than it does down the hill. And that's what we saw in this situation.
So if you're just joining our coverage, this is the Sycamore fire in the city of Whittier. It broke out just under an hour ago. Started as just a couple acre brush fire. It's grown to 7 acres. They have made quick work of those devastating flames, but not before. At least 2 homes have been damaged. One certainly destroyed, but at least 2 homes damaged in this area. This, by the way, is Cinco View Drive and East Banyan Rim Drive in Whittier, just below the hillside there where these boots on the ground, where these crews are now spraying the hillside, is Sycamore Park in Whittier. There's a heat advisory, there's a wind advisory. It's just that combo that fuels a fire like this. And this is the second fire of the day. The first one, of course, in Orange County, the Emerald Bay fire. That has now settled down. No homes destroyed there, but unfortunately, it's a much different scene this afternoon as LA County Fire battles the Sycamore fire. And Sue, I was with you on the air during the noon hour, and it's a tough day for LA County, a heartbreaking day, because you were over the procession of the LA County firefighter, fire captain, who lost his life while on duty.
Yeah, Steve, Fire Captain Stephen McCann, and it tragic. That's the only way to really tell that story. And it just shows you, though, that the fire departments, all of them, they are very close knit. These guys, they rely on each other, for emotional support as well as knowing, physical support, that they've got their backs out there in dangerous situations, which they basically go to. I mean, every day they have some type of situation where they're basically, putting themselves in danger to help others. But this fire right here in LA County Fire Department, they did an amazing job. There are other homes in the area. I wish, we had a little more control over Skyfox right now, and you can actually see a lot of blackened areas on those other 2 homes off to the right side of the screen right now. And that kind of shows you that there was a lot of active fire and near those homes, and those homes were saved. So, yes, it is sad to see a couple of literally 2 homes destroyed out here, but other homes, other property was saved, and you can see how close those flames came to those other homes. So this probably was a very active firefight for those firefighters on the ground, protecting structure, and of course, the brush side of it as well. So it was a combination of things going on, a lot of coordination going on between those firefighters, the crews that were on the ground battling, the different portions, and then of course the aerial assets putting water on that hillside. But Rick was talking about that, that basically was sounding like he was talking about a perfect storm of weather, and that's definitely what we have again out here today, and I believe it's going to be going on for a couple of days.
Through at least Sunday. Through at least Sunday, Stu. You're right.
And right now, as far as that containment that you guys were talking about, in this case, 7 acres, they got a line around that the brush portion of it probably pretty quick. Right now, they're doing a lot of mop up on those 2 structures that were destroyed, and of course, there's still a lot of brush in the area, those mature trees that are dry as well. So there are other things that could happen, but with the amount of firefighters here on scene, it is unlikely that this is going to reignite, or even with high winds, create another fire in this area. But we just are blessed to have these type of great men and women for the fire departments. This is an LA County fire incident, able to respond so quickly. And, the fact that we do live in such a beautiful area, and we take advantage of, like you were saying, living right on the edge. I mean, one of the street names here is Rim, and it just kind of gives you that idea that these homes are literally right up against, forest land, or in this case, probably, just wildlands. And when that fire raced up that hillside, this is actually almost trying to look at it as half full, is that we're happy that only 2 homes were destroyed. This could have been so much worse if if the fire department may have been a little bit slower or the aerial resources weren't there. 2 homes are destroyed, but there's at least 4 others near this that you can see the flames got very close to. And those structures have been saved.
And Stu, you see it from above like I have for all the years that both of us have flown up in the helicopter. We live in such a unique, dynamic environment in Southern California, and it's all about the view, the hills, the ocean, and what have you. But that lends itself to what we see here. But the bottom line is they're setting that perimeter. They're starving the fire of the fuel, the heat, and the oxygen from spreading. We're seeing more white as opposed to black. We've seen some homes burn, which is awful, but they do have that containment, that circle around this area here in Whittier, off the 605, off the 60, and they're going to prevent more homes from burning. The boots are on the ground there. We see them there. The aircraft, they're dropping water from the Bell 40s, the LA County helicopters, and they're doing whatever they can to create that line, and they have. But unfortunately, people's livelihoods have gone up, and it's an awful scene. And the weather's fueling it. We'll see what caused the trigger, what created the fire. The weather doesn't start the fire unless there's a lightning strike. That did not happen today, and we're seeing LA County firefighters still putting water.
Rick and Stu, let me jump in here. We have someone joining us by phone now from LA County Fire. Chad, I'm going to let you say your last name for us. Captain, can you hear me?
This is Chief Sourbeer.
Oh, thank you so much, Chief. I appreciate that. Okay, tell us what you're looking at right now. We see this fire here. How are things going there on the ground?
Well, what we know going on the ground, things are progressing. We still have 2 homes affected, but it looks like we're making some containment on the brush portion of the fire. We're now focusing on the residential portion of the fire. Again, with the 2 homes affected, we're trying not to have any extension into any of the homes, any further extension to the homes up there.
What can you tell us, Chief, about injuries? Were the homeowners, were the residents home at the time? Is everyone okay?
Oh, I don't have that information now.
Okay, and what about firefighter? How are the crews doing out there? I mean, we know that there's excessive heat today.
Well, the crews are making strong progress. They have a lot of support with our hand crews as well as our water-dropping helicopters and fixed wings. So we're making a lot of strong progress. What it looks like now, it looks like, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can hold it at 2 homes this time. It appears that the fire started again from the bottom, worked its way up to the homes. By the time our fire crews got there, the homes were already involved. So we're making that strong stand to just hold it to those 2 homes.
All right. Well, we thank you for your information there as we look at the crews there on the ground, and we do hope that you can indeed hold this fire to 2 homes. Well, go ahead.
My last question to you, Chief, is we know that this is the focal point of the firefight. Any evacuation orders in place? What do you want residents to know?
We don't have. We're going to leave that to our law enforcement partners. I don't have any reports of any evacuations at this time. It doesn't mean that that's not going on. I don't have that information for you.
Okay.
Can you tell me quickly, you talk about wanting to hold it at these 2 homes. What are your concerns at this hour as we look at this?
Well, as you know, we've had days of dry, hot, windy conditions. It'll go all the way through Sunday. You know, the temperature's 85 out there. So our concern is the wind, the weather not cooperating, spreading this fire from where it is now to those houses. We still have active flame on one of the houses, and our concern is that the wind's at the back. It's going to extend to the neighboring homes. So we're trying to make a strong stand there.
Okay, so from our perspective, we can't see those active flames, so you're seeing that, hearing that from the ground. That is a concern if you're still seeing active flames, because we see the white smoke and we think, all right, they're really getting a handle on this.
Yeah, they're making it. There's still some flames. We're looking for knockdown. But again, it's flaming up, it's going down, flaming up. It's all dependent on the wind and the conditions we're fighting that as well as the fire.
Okay. LA County Fire Department Chief Chad Sourbeer, thank you so much for being with us right now.
You bet.
Thank you. All right, we are here up at the top of the hour, 4 o'clock. I'm Christine Devine here with Marla Tejas. We've got Stu Mandel on the phone and Rick Dickert as well, as we are watching this fire here in Whittier. That's going to 7 acres.
Yes, 7 acres. We are going to continue to keep an eye on this one. It's called the Sycamore Fire in Whittier. We're going to have a complete wrap-up tonight on the Fox 11 News at 5, so we'll see you then. We'll send you off to TMZ, which is just about to begin. Thanks for being with us.
Room in Orlando. We had been told that authorities believed that it was either from a heart attack or a